Welcome to With Love Mama, the podcast, and welcome to our first birth story guest joining us. This is going to be an incredible episode with Tess sharing her journey from conception to having twins, only being able to take one home, and then having a daughter shortly into postpartum, and how all of this affected her journey into motherhood and now to this day, years later. So if you are a mama who has experienced loss, this is a really beautiful, grounding episode full of wisdom, listening to Tess's story. So let's get into it. Okay, welcome Tess to With Love Mama, the podcast. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. Feeling a little bit nervous, I guess, but I'm feeling good.
Perfect. And I think nerves are always good because it means we have care around what we're speaking about. And today we're going to be going into your journey, which has been quite a whirlwind of a journey, entering motherhood.
Well, we were struggling to conceive for
Mhm.
about 2 years,
Okay.
and so we went on to Clomid. So we were using Clomid for a while, and then our next step was going to be IVF.
hmm And then you found out that you were pregnant with twins.
That's right. So the day before our IVF appointment, ready for the injections, I just randomly decided to do a test, and it came back positive.
How did that feel?
It didn't feel real
Yeah.
at all. And I think because you hear so many stories about don't take tests while you're going through all the medications and things like that, that I wasn't sure. So I was excited at the possibility because I'd never ever received a positive pregnancy test ever. But I was still thinking like it was a bit of a joke. It didn't feel real to me.
Yeah, like even though you know you peed on the stick, it was like, is that actually my result?
Yeah, it definitely didn't sink in probably until a scan.
Yeah. And then talk me through that. You had a scan, and then after struggling with, fertility for a few years, about to start IVF, then you've shocked yourself with a positive test, and then you've found out you're having twins.
Yeah, so because we were going through a clinic, we had an early scan just to double check everything. So yeah, we went in. There were actually three sacs when we went in, but he'd said that there were heartbeats in two of the sacs. They weren't sure if it was one that had split or just two separate fertilized eggs. But yeah, so we found out we were having two, which in our minds we were so excited for because we wanted two kids and we thought, yeah, this is the perfect way to make sure that we're getting our bang for buck with all of the money that we'd spent on our journey so far. So we thought, yeah, perfect. We've got our two little boys that we're going to be getting in a couple of months.
Yeah, amazing. So, a part of your story is that you gave birth to your twins, and unfortunately, you lost one, and then you have grown to continue mothering the other. Did you have, and you did mention that you had like a high risk pregnancy, is that right? Or,
Well, no, it was, I didn't have a high risk pregnancy until we found out in, I want to say about 27 to 29 weeks that one of the twins had demised. So we, we were away on holiday and one of my friends that I hadn't spoken to for a while, she contacted me and she just said, "Hey, is everything all right with your pregnancy? I've just had this weird feeling, like this weird,
Mm.
dream almost." And so I said, yeah, everything was fine. But then that was playing on my mind. So I went to the doctors when I came back, just a normal GP. So with the Doppler, and he was like, no, I can hear two heartbeats. Everything's fine. So we left it to our next scan, which was around 27 to 29 weeks. And then that was when we found out. And then I was referred to MFM for specialized care from there.
yeah, wow. How did that feel when in that moment?
When I was at the place getting the scan,
Yeah.
yeah. So at the doctors that they had said everything was fine. So then when I went to the next appointment, I went in there feeling completely all good. And then,
Confident.
yeah, I was. And then I was laying on the bed, and then the nurse, you know, when they're just looking for a bit too long. And
Mm-hmm.
then she said, oh, I'll be back in a moment. I just need to go and get somebody. And that moment, it felt like I was waiting in there by myself for about half an hour with this gut feeling that something's not right and not knowing. And I feel like I almost blacked out from that moment.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to call me a taxi to get home, but I just wanted to be in my own space, in my own car, and drive myself home. And again, it didn't feel real at all. I still thought that it was like a joke being played on me. I just thought, how could one be okay and one not be okay?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think I don't think it sunk in for at least a month until I'd gone and got multiple scans.
Mm.
And then I had to be told by multiple people that you
Oh,
just have a baby.
of course, of course. And I feel like it's one of those moments of like, I guess you potentially had feelings of why me, or like it's almost like that shock because it's something that's not spoken about is
Mhm.
loss.
Yeah,
We tend to always speak about the beautiful side of, and it's not to say loss isn't beautiful in its own way, but we tend to always really want to speak about the beautiful side of pregnancy and motherhood. So you probably didn't have any stories to relate it to or people in your life that had been through something similar. So of course your nervous system's like, well, I'm just going to switch off. Like, yeah.
it did. Yeah, and so that's why I didn't really speak about it. I did not enjoy pregnancy from that point on. And we were fortunate enough to live across the road from the hospital on the Gold Coast, but in a way, I mean, it was a good and bad thing that happened living that close. But I was walking myself down to the hospital in the middle of, sorry, it's like, it's taking me back. Just walking myself down there
Mm,
in the middle of the night, taking myself to get a scan to make sure that the other baby was okay.
hmm
And being told that at any moment I might need to birth the other baby if things go awry there as well.
hmm
So they told me that. They said when I'd lost the first twin that from that moment onwards, they would monitor me twice a week. And at any appointment at any given time, I might need to birth the other one. So
hmm
I think that's why it was on my mind so much. And yeah, I just became a bit crazy with it all and yeah, just walking myself down there, waddling down there at 11 o'clock at night to go and get checked.
Yeah, well, I mean, having, like you said, it was kind of a good and bad thing, right? That you were right there. But it's like one of those moments in time when you've had this journey to conception, you've conceived, that felt like a shock. Everything seems like it's falling into place, and then it's almost like it's been shifted again, and you're feeling that deep care and hope that everything's going to be okay for one, but knowing that you know, it didn't potentially go to the way you had planned in your head. And how else is a woman supposed to navigate such a time? I think by the sounds of it, you did and are continuing to do. Getting on here and speaking about it even is just so huge, right? In navigating such a huge thing that a lot of people can't even grasp the concept of.
Yeah, it's just always been a bittersweet journey,
Mm,
you know, and I I don't want to take away from my son that is
mm,
her side. Um, and I think that's why I just pushed everything back with everything that had happened. And I've not really acknowledged that journey at all. And
mm.
that's why I haven't really spoken about it until now.
Yeah, and I think like it's one of those things where it's something that you'll probably continue to be processing throughout the rest of your life,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's a huge, huge thing. I would love to touch on the birth of your boys and yeah, just walk us through it. Walk us through the birth, how that felt.
Yeah, so we still plan to have they wanted to do a C-section because the twin that had demised was breech and he was down the bottom. So they were like, there's no way to really birth both of the boys in a safe way. And that was up until the day of or the day before I was booked in for my C-section. And then they said they've switched. So you are able to give do a natural birth now if you wish. But I think I just wanted, I, I do in a way regret not going through the feeling and the process of a natural birth. But in my mind, then I just thought I couldn't give any more energy to having these babies, and I just left it into the care of the doctors. And so I went in like a normal C-section, and the doctors were great. The MFM unit were incredible, and I was in and out in such a timely manner. The hardest part was when the demised twin had been birthed, and they had said to me, "Do you want to hold him? Do you want to look?" or photos and things like that. And I also had a crying baby that was healthy and happy, just getting weighed on the other side. And I had shut off to that opportunity and I'd said no. So it was hard because I just wanted to remember from the scans and seeing him moving that I didn't want to have another picture in my mind. And so, I mean, anyone that's birthed would probably resonate with the fact that your mind's elsewhere after you've got a baby and you're trying to feed and recovering from any sort of surgery or just, going through your natural birth. My mind was elsewhere. And so I was just really focused on my son that was there with me in my arms and trying to make him feel that love that I knew I needed to give as well.
Of course. And I think that's a very primal response as a mother because, you have instantly put all of your attention, everything into your son who's here, who you know you're going to continue nurturing, caring for the rest of his life. And it doesn't mean that you don't or didn't honor your son that was lost. I think everyone, has different ways of dealing with grief and loss. And it's a completely valid way to do so is wanting to remember him from the scans and those movements that you would have had at the start and all of the things like that, right? That is remembering him in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that because I think as well, we can make ourselves so wrong. In the moment, it feels like so huge and so big that we don't even feel what's going on, right? And it can be so easy to then go ahead a year, 2 years, 5 years and go, oh, I wish I could go back and change it. Or why did I make that decision? Or fall into that self-critical thinking. But you did exactly what you needed in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that it was that fight or flight mode of just doing what I needed to do to survive in that moment because I was struggling and I didn't feel like I could talk about it in a way that wouldn't show my appreciation for my son that was here.
So I'd love to sort of just ask and like shift a little bit from like the birth and all of that. You've mentioned like you were quite literally experienced in the exact same moment, life and loss. You experienced that deep love, but also you were starting like the grieving process. How did that transition into motherhood feel for you?
It was really difficult. I think after my 3 days in hospital, the day after I left the hospital, having to go down to a funeral home, holding one son and picking up the ashes and choosing an urn and things like that. That was really difficult. And I feel like there wasn't any support in place for that. I wasn't recommended, any sort of counseling or anything along those lines. And so I think that because it wasn't spoken about, that's why I also pushed it down. And then I think I was still having these feelings of disassociation. And so I was struggling to breastfeed. I found that so difficult. And then I also had a reflux baby and I wasn't sleeping. And I mean, no one really sleeps in those moments anyway when you've just had a baby. But I think everything just felt really heavy and not having, I had family support, but I think not having any friends close by that had babies, I think that I felt like a bit of an outsider. And I'd announced my pregnancy on Facebook, as we do, and that I was having twins. And then I never said anything about it since. So I'd never said we'd lost one, nothing. So I think that still people had questions and they were wanting to ask me things, but I wasn't ready to say anything. So even people years later, they were like, oh, how are the boys? And not knowing that I'd, lost a baby. And so it was difficult. I don't think I processed it. I still don't think I've really processed it. But then 6 weeks postpartum, I found out I was pregnant again. So
Yeah.
that was a distraction. And it was just interesting because when I originally found out that I was pregnant with the 2 boys, my husband, who is not woo-woo at all, but which I am a little bit, but he had said to me, he goes, it's so strange that we're having 2 boys because I have had these vivid dreams of having a boy and a girl. And so once, we'd gone through a bit more of this journey, he was just, as soon as I found out I was pregnant, he's like, it's a girl. I already know that it's a girl. So
isn't that so interesting? Like you don't even have to be woo-woo sometimes. It's like you actually cannot make this up.
No, and he knew. He's known from that moment that, when we got married, it's like we're going to be having 2 kids. It's going to be a boy and a girl. I've seen it. I've already seen it all. So yeah, 10.5 months later, I had my little girl, and then thrown into another pit of like just love and appreciation. And I think that then pushed everything down even further though, because I felt that gratitude, and I felt gratitude even with my first pregnancy that I was lucky enough to still come out and have a baby, because I know that people don't, and I didn't want to diminish what they have gone through as well. So I think that that's why I've just never really spoken about it, just feeling lucky that I still had a baby after all those years of trying.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like I just want to like really witness you in that after a loss like that, which I feel like it would be its own level of hard, like a different kind of hard than just a loss of one child, because you are trying to feel that gratitude and really like lean into the beauty of motherhood in that sense. But then also, how do I process this? Do I give it space? How do I give it space without looking like I'm falling? Like it's a really hard thing to navigate. So I just want to witness you in that there wasn't much support for you, because it's a huge thing. And I feel like, support is being seen is like one of the best ways to help process things. So I just want to see you in that, because even though, you've now got 2 beautiful babies, you're feeling so grateful for them, they bring you so much joy. I still just want to see you in that, because that's a huge piece to your story. How did I know you've mentioned like, you feel like you've pushed it down and you just were sort of getting on with your life, and it's all the things, but do you feel as though your next postpartum was different?
Um, I mean, my pregnancy was something that I just wished away,
Mm-hmm.
my second pregnancy. I didn't announce that I was pregnant until 30 weeks, and I could get away with that because I was so close from my last pregnancy that people couldn't question if that was my baby weight or if I was pregnant. So, yeah, I really disassociated from the pregnancy.
Mhm.
And I I was nervous about how that would affect my child, but I just couldn't bring myself to enjoy it.
Mm.
But she's come out as like the most beautiful and empathetic little girl.
Mm.
But I really felt like how I was feeling towards the pregnancy would affect her once she was born.
It's so interesting you mentioned that because I have been having so many conversations lately around this exact fear that so many mums have, and especially after loss when you have a lot of that. There's unknown territory for such a long period of time. Pregnancy feels like it goes, a lot longer than that 9 months, especially when you're in that anxious state. But when we do get a little bit woo-woo, is our babies always like choose us at the exact time that we need them, that they need us for as long or as little as we need them or they need us. And we always have lessons to teach each other. They're here to teach us things and we teach them things. And I just think that it's so beautiful when I do like even listen to your story from that more woo-woo place of, wow, your daughter really knew mum needs me right now. And
So,
that feminine energy is always going to be different to the way your partner can hold you through it or your son can, fill your cup. It's just there's something different about woman to woman. So it's really
yeah,
beautiful.
she is what I needed.
Mm,
And, even now, she's 6 now, and every day she is just my little rock and
mhm,
gets me through those really difficult times because of her kind nature. And she's just so able to sense what's going on around her and pick up
mm,
emotions. And I would never want to put that on her.
mm.
But I think just naturally, that's just how she is. And I'm so grateful for that.
That's so beautiful. I'd love to ask you, your journey, like we've touched on, is like it's just gone so many different directions, and there's so many facets to it from your conception to your pregnancies to birth to where you are now. I would love to ask you and take your time in answering it. What do you think it's taught you about yourself?
Um, well, I mean, it's made me realize so many different things. I'm a primary school teacher as well. So I think that it gave me a lot of empathy towards parents and their journeys when it comes to guiding and educating their children. And I also think that it's just opened up a new door for me in being able to have conversation. I mean, I don't normally share my journey, but being able to listen better
Mm,
to other people's experiences as well and really sit with that,
mm,
understanding kind of what they need. So I think it's given me a lot of um, just power to hold space for other people, which I probably hadn't done in the past.
mhm.
So I think that's my growth from it. Although I feel like I haven't healed at all, and I always still think the what if. Um, I think that yeah, being able to hold space for other people and being empathetic and not having to understand people's perceptions or opinions or what they're going through, but being able to just allow them to say what they want to say and feel heard.
That is such a beautiful thing to learn about yourself. Like holding space is something that a lot of people struggle with doing. And like you said, it actually sounds like you're saying that like your heart just opened even more,
Yeah, it
which
did. Yeah.
which can be crazy, but yeah,
Sorry.
it's okay. I'd also just love to know because it's a unique journey, but equally it's not unique because so many women go through things like this. And like you said, don't have the space to speak about it, don't feel comfortable to speak about it, don't want to burden others, don't know how to even bring it up? How do you even, like you said, you post on Facebook, I'm pregnant, and then people ask, you have to just go along with it because it's like, oh, I don't actually know how to navigate this.
No,
What would you have to say for any mum listening who has experienced loss while also caring for a living child? Like, what would you want her to know?
that your energy is also important.
Mm,
That I know that you have to give to a child, but you also need to take time and space for yourself and to sit with it. Because
mm,
I think that to sit with it is so difficult because you are thinking about the what if and how your life would have changed over those years. But just to feel that and to reach out to people that you trust if you want to.
mm.
But I know that that is really difficult. Well, I found that really difficult. I know people always say that they care and they're there for you, but I feel like so often we find that they have their own lives and their own stuff going on.
Mm.
So I think that sitting with that yourself and being able to write about that or, you know, create those visualizations in your mind. And that's, I think it's fine to picture that what if, uh,
Yeah.
but also to uh, just to, it's so hard to explain because you want to, it's like any loss, you want to go on and enjoy your life
Mm,
and your time, but you also want to not look like you're having too much fun because you've gone through this traumatic thing.
mm.
And you don't want people to think that you don't care. But I think that that's what I would say is that you can have the joy still
Mm.
and feel sad, but and you don't need to worry about what other people are thinking about that. But yeah, just to really to sit with it and not push it down because years later it's still going to be pushed down.
Yeah. And really, by the sounds of what you're saying, is giving space to the what if,
Yeah,
allowing that to be an okay scenario that you envision, but
yeah,
also not getting so lost in it and allowing yourself to feel the joy of everyday life or the joy of your living child. And it doesn't mean you're not honoring your child that isn't here anymore.
yeah. And I think that's so important because that's what I really felt. That
Yeah.
if I wasn't sad, then I wasn't upset or I wasn't grieving.
Yeah. And I guess, like, even from society, right? It's like, it is that there's just these stories that we are led to believe of if you're not sad, then you don't feel the grief of that
Yeah,
because you see all on social media like, oh, they mustn't be upset if they're out having a nice dinner with their friends after they've just
yeah,
lost a baby.
yeah.
It's easy to go, well, yeah, that's true, and just continue to go into a shell. But like you've said, find that space to still find the joy. And actually, who cares what other people think?
I
Because
know,
they're never going to understand what you have gone through. Because
no,
it's,
but it's just hard because you don't care what people are thinking, but you still, it's hard because you still want some of those people around you and you don't want to offend anybody as well. That's what I didn't want to offend anybody or burden anybody. I felt like it was part of just something that I had to go through.
mm,
And like you said, um, these kids are given to us for a reason at the time, at that place, and to be grateful for what they are giving us.
mm,
And it's just hard to come to terms. I'm like, what do you mean, universe? I wasn't ready for two little boys at that point in time. Like, that's how I sometimes see it.
mm,
But then I wouldn't have my little girl because I knew that we were having two
mm.
children, and I don't think we would have tried again.
Mm.
So it's it has shifted my life so much, and I'm so grateful for the family that I have. But yeah, it's still in my mind a little bit of what would my day to day look like
Of
you know,
course.
with two boys. But
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for where it's led me to now.
And thank you so much for having the courage to actually come on my podcast and be one of my first birth story guests to share such a beautiful journey into motherhood. Because, like you said, there was so many, like, oh, what's the word? I'm getting a bit of baby brain. There's so many like, parts of it that are like beautiful, but also
Mm,
so lonely, so isolating. You felt like a burden, the lack of support, all of that. But you actually coming on here and sharing your journey is going to help so many women. And there'll be so many women listening to this who have experienced loss or potentially will experience loss. We
mm.
can't read into the future, but there's, this you coming on here is actually creating such a huge impact. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming and sharing your journey on the podcast.
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you as well because I have not opened up about this at all before. So I think that it's part of my healing journey as well to be speaking about what's happened as well. So thank you.
If you loved this episode, please don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, rate the show, share with a friend, all the things to support our community to grow so that we can reach more mums and allow everyone to feel seen, nurtured, loved, all of the things. That's what we're here for on With Love Mama, the podcast. If you would love to come on and share your birth story, please go to the link below. I have a form that you can fill out to apply to come on and potentially share your story on the podcast as well. But I love you so much, and we'll be back in your ears next week. Bye.